Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Let's Ruin My Algorithm. In this show, I listen to a random genre of music, give some impressions on it, give some history, and some of my favorite tracks. I select that random genre of music just through a computer. I just spin a wheel on a computer, and it spits out one of the more than 6,000 genres that are listed on Spotify. I listen to it, and tell you how it goes. Obviously, I'm not going to be an expert in these genres. I've chosen it at random. It's not something I've lived and breathed my entire life, but that's the fun of it. I've created this show in order to expand the music I listen to. We all get stuck in a bit of a rut with the music we listen to, so why not expand it? Thank you for everybody who tuned in last week when we spoke about Ethiopian jazz. If Ethiopian jazz sounds like something interesting for you to listen to, here's a link. Check it out. This week is going to be a little bit of fun because the computer told me to listen to cosmic death metal. Cosmic death metal is what we're going to be listening to this week. It's making me question already why I am doing this show, honestly. Cosmic death metal, not something that I'd usually gravitate to. I do like to listen to some heavy music. I listen to a lot of punk. I listen to a little bit of metal. But cosmic death metal. Yeah, what is that? What is cosmic death metal? It's obviously an offshoot of death metal being a genre of extreme metal. Cosmic death metal is cosmic because it mostly is songs about space and sci-fi, at least according to my reading. Like a lot of death metal, you get a lot of blast beats, fast, heavy guitars, and growling vocals. Because of the growling vocals, you can't really understand what they're singing about, so I'm just going to take their word for it that they're singing about space. That's all I know. From my reading, metal is death metal is extreme metal with, death overtones. Cosmic death metal looks to create a dark and otherworldly atmosphere. Honestly, I missed that in most of the music that I listen to in this genre. It's heavy, it's fast, it's blast beats, and to me that doesn't feel otherworldly. Maybe I have a more peaceful vision of what otherworldly means, but fast, blast beaty, growling is not otherworldly to me. Death metal is supposed to be a little uncomfortable, give some existential dread. It's definitely present in cosmic death metal as well. It's not the most comfortable music. It's not supposed to be. But I did not experience that otherworldly aspect to it. You're welcome to have a listen. Tell me I'm wrong. But the themes of space and the cosmic aspect of cosmic death metal do come through in the names of the songs, at least, and it will give you an impression of what themes are being growled about in the songs. Songs like Celestial Cyst, Void Spawn, and Infinitesimal to the Infinite, as well as Hammer from the Howling Void, and Plume of Ink Within a Vacuum. Very spacey. Also, once again, kind of existential and uninviting, but that's kind of the point. I could not find a lot of history on cosmic death metal. I think it's such a small genre. Like some of these bands that I listened to had 300 monthly listeners on Spotify. It's not supposed to be accessible music, and these people are making music that they love, so good on them. But it's not the most popular genre. I think that the lack of history, though, really boils down to cosmic death metal being a very, very specific genre, obviously. Death metal dates back to the 1980s. It was a bit of an offshoot of thrash and black metal. And I imagine in the 80s and early 90s, as death metal was becoming its own thing, people just saw it as another form of black metal. And they didn't really say, oh, this is its own genre. It's just more black metal done in a slightly different way. But now that death metal's had 30 years to grow, now it's starting to get its own offshoots like cosmic death metal, which is still I guess, in its infancy? Are we living through the history of cosmic death metal right now? And in 40 years, is this going to be this long, storied history of cosmic death metal and why it's the big thing? I don't know. We'll find out in 40 years, won't we? But I'm sure that there are people who are into extreme metal and more extreme genres of music who would be able to pinpoint cosmic death metal versus death metal. I don't listen to death metal, and so I can't really tell the difference between cosmic death metal and standard death metal. But if you do live and breathe heavy music, you could probably, do better than me to describe all of that. And if you're into heavy music and if you clicked on this video because you are into death metal, I'm sure that there's a lot that I'm missing. I'm not supposed to be an expert here. I'm just trying to dip my toe in the water of various genres, and this week it's cosmic death metal. Interesting. So my impression, I like guitar-oriented music. I listen to a lot of guitar-oriented music. I play guitar. So I like the guitars. The guitars were fast, they were heavy. I didn't so much like the blast beat. The blast beat is that double kick drum going really fast. That's really not my thing. I don't really see an appeal to a blast beat. There's just no groove to it. And I like music with a bit of a groove. I'm fairly indifferent to the vocal style, the growling. I don't like it, I don't hate it. Some people probably don't like that growling vocal style. It would put a lot of people off any extreme metal. I don't mind it. The heavy music that I listen to generally doesn't have that growling, but it does have shouting and sometimes difficult to understand lyrics. And I'm kind of used to that. This is obviously extreme metal, so they're doing everything a little bit further, a little bit more extreme. And so the growling is really not my cup of tea, but I did, and all that being said, I had some difficulty listening to this at first, but after 1 or 2 hours, actually, I got a bit surprised. It's hardly relaxing music, of course, but I was surprised that I starting to enjoy it. It's actually, it's easy just to initially hear blast beat, fast guitars, and growling, and that's it. But once you sit down and you listen to nothing but cosmic death metal for a day, you actually do start to hear some layers to the music. It's actually very well thought out, very orchestrated music. It's not just let's make a whole lot of noise and scare people off. There's layers to it. Sure, there's that blast beat that I keep talking about. But if you really try to dig in there, there's some great bass grooves going, great riffs. There's a rhythm guitar, and there might be some lead guitar, but that's or just sounds in the background that you're not going to hear unless you start paying attention to the music. And to that end, I actually found cosmic death metal quite intentional. It's not just noise. They're trying to make a soundscape. Is that soundscape going to appeal to everybody? Of course not. And I don't think cosmic death metal artists want it to appeal to everybody. But I actually found that there was a soundscape to hear and to listen to. And it was quite interesting. Some songs, not a lot of them, but some, they did open up to a more isolated guitar with a bit of a groove. Lots of delay and reverb, and kind of gave it that more spacey sound in the solos. But that felt more like the exception than the rule in these cosmic death metal songs, and I would have liked to hear more of that spacey, isolated guitar. That sounded spacey. Yeah, it sounded like heavy, dreadful space, but that's more cosmic to me than a lot of the other stuff they were doing. And yeah, as I mentioned, if you do want to try cosmic death metal, this is only episode 2, and we're already on a fairly inaccessible genre. If you do want to try it, I encourage you not just to listen to one track and be like, oh, this is terrible, and turn it off. Give it an hour or two, and as I mentioned, you're going to start to hear layers. Some of the songs that stood out to me were Void Spawn by Jalilist. I'll put a link in the description. It had a great riff, and unlike most of the songs that I heard, this one actually had a hook. And even where they got that, beat, it wasn't just throwing yourself around like a lot of this stuff where it's just heavy and fast. There was actually a beat and a groove, and as I mentioned, a bit of a hook. The music also had a clear rise and fall to it. Unlike a lot of the cosmic death metal that I was listening to, that was just kind of all just like, let's go at 110%. This rose and fell in intensity. It's not like a loud, quiet, loud, or the Pixies or something like that, but it built intensity, it backed it off, and it built it again. So it was actually more interesting to listen to, I think, than a lot of the other songs that was just, let's go, and let's go hard. Another song that I liked was Liquefied Mind by Outer Heaven. Another one with a good beat and riff. I've said it a few times already, but so many of the songs are just like, let's just go. This one actually had a beat and a groove to sit on and listen to. The vocals on this one were actually a little bit more accessible, and you could almost understand them. Drums, again, pretty much all blast beat. But there was an actual rhythm and a groove behind that blast beat. And I think that's actually probably a mark of a good drummer. If he can be going both feet, 100,000 miles an hour, and then get something else going to actually have a groove over the top of that. That's actually, pretty good instrumentation, honestly. Still sticking to that extreme metal, fast pace, but giving something in the background for the listener to concentrate on. Another song, Petrified in the Hypogene Jail by Cryptic Shift. Again, one where you could almost understand the vocals. You can see I'm gravitating towards cosmic death metal songs that aren't as heavy, aren't as strictly hardcore, because I'm not familiar with the genre, and I'm not a fan of extreme metal. So I'm going to be going for songs that are a little less extreme than than what people who listen to a lot of this music are going to listen to. With that, checking the notes. With that, you could almost hear some thrash metal influence in this. As I mentioned, black metal came off of speed and thrash metal in the 80s, and then you get death metal, and now you get something like cosmic death metal. And this one you could hear some of that thrash metal influence, at least to my ears. And it had good use of effects and a more obvious kind of spacey vibe. Again, I didn't hear a lot of space vibes in something that's supposed to be cosmic death metal, but this one actually did give a bit of a spacey vibe. And yeah, this one I probably had the most appeal to it, in my opinion. Check it out. Another great one was Hammer from the Howling Void by the Sulfur Aeon. Once again, theme here, less growling. This had vocals you could understand. Again, you can see where I'm gravitating towards when I'm just getting introduced to a genre. As I mentioned, though, you listen to this genre for 2 hours, and you hear those layers. And, if I could do it again, I would probably start with these more introductory cosmic death metal songs that are not quite as extreme, and then maybe work my way up in intensity. Instead I had it on random. But I was drawn to the ones that were less extreme because I don't listen to a lot of extreme music. This one, what I really liked about this one is the vocals. They were big, full of reverb. It almost sounded like the vocalist was standing on a barren planet in outer space singing. And it's space. It's space. It's not that peaceful, celestial sort of thing that I think of with space, but it could be someone's view of space. Finally, another song I liked was Plume of Ink in a Vacuum by Geigen. This one had a very angular guitar and a jilted rhythm. It was kind of uncomfortable to listen to because it was designed to be uncomfortable to listen to, but I liked it. It felt a little bit more experimental. Growling, again, I wasn't crazy about, but it did feel it suited the music. This one felt not just in that template of heavy music and being heavy for heavy's sake. It felt like it was experimental and they were actually trying to do something different here, which I found quite interesting. If any of those songs sound like your cup of tea, I've linked everything in the description. You can take a listen, support the artist, see if it's your thing. Again, like, I'm not making these videos so that we can be like, oh, I love this, or oh, I hate this so much. It's about finding something in there. And if you're the type of person who's watching videos of some guy listening to a random genre, do it yourself as well. See if there's anything that you can find in this genre that you find interesting as well. Take a listen to those 5 tracks that I've recommended. Comment in the description. Tell me, did you like the tracks? Did you hate the tracks? What did you like? What didn't you like? Expand it. You might say, oh, Plume of Ink in a Vacuum wasn't very good, but I like this other one. Let me know. Let's start a discussion about cosmic death metal and, maybe find some new fans for people. Overall on this genre, though, once again, I've been saying it throughout this whole video, I didn't find anything cosmic in this genre. It felt like, oh, we're singing about space, so therefore it's cosmic. I probably could have taken the time to sit down and read the lyrics. I didn't, because I just didn't feel like there was going to be anything of interest in there for me. So to that end, it kind of felt like, oh, it's death metal, but in space. Yay. Like, great, and I'm not trying to sound overly critical. I think, whether it's death metal or cosmic death metal, there are some interesting things to be said about it, and it is interesting music, but I don't think that this is differentiated enough from death metal to be able, like, it's its own genre. I'm not saying it's like a joke genre, though. Like, if you've heard dwarf metal, some fun stuff, but it is a bit of a joke genre. I'm not saying cosmic death metal is a joke genre by any means, but I don't think it's different enough from typical death metal to say, oh yeah, it's a completely different thing. You can't just say we're singing about space, so therefore it's a different genre. But look, as I mentioned, the biggest thing that I took away from this, and whether it's cosmic death metal or a different genre, is really give it a chance. You can't just listen to 5 minutes of it and be like, oh, I hate it. I don't think I'm going to be coming back to cosmic death metal time and time again. I don't think this is ever going to be my favorite genre. But really what I found is the more I listened to it, the more I began to understand it, and the more elements that I could hear and interested and surprised me. And I think that's a good lesson to have for any genre of you can't just listen to one song and say, no, that's not me. This is not going to be my favorite. They don't all have to be my favorite, but I'm glad that I gave it a chance. But with that, I think I'm not going to say I enjoyed it either. I don't think anyone really enjoys death metal. I wouldn't be so harsh to say you endure it. That's not it either. But I use the term enjoy very literally. Like, I like watching horror movies. And no one enjoys a horror movie. You don't enjoy watching all of that, but you might find entertainment in that, and you might like being scared or sitting on the edge of your seat and stuff like that. But that's not enjoyable, but it is a form of entertainment. And so in the same way, I don't think we can enjoy a genre like this, but we can find interest and entertainment in it. So I don't think cosmic death metal is going to be in high rotation on my playlist. With last week when we did Ethiopian jazz, I did save a few songs onto my ongoing, ever-growing playlist that I just put on random when I'm listening to music at home. I didn't do that with any of these cosmic death metal songs. Sorry. Sorry to the artists. Interesting stuff, really interesting to experience, but it's not going to be my favorite. In conclusion, though, I was pleasantly surprised by listening to cosmic death metal all day. I particularly enjoyed going to the gym and having this on my headphones. Really good music for working out because it's loud and it's fast and it really pumps you up. Something that really you have to take your time with. And I think, although I don't think I'll be revisiting this too much, it is giving me a new perspective on some heavier genres and extreme metal in general. And it's something I'd like to look into more and find some more appreciation. I think there will probably always be stuff that I might find in artists to be like, I really like them specifically, but I don't like the rest of this. And that's part of this experiment of finding new things and finding new things to experience and explore. And I've enjoyed exploring cosmic death metal, and there was some good stuff, and I think it's opened the door to other extreme forms of music that I think I'm going to enjoy in the future. Have a listen, tell me whether you agree, see if you can find some tracks you like as well, and let me know in the comments. Next week, we'll spin the wheel again, we'll see what we're talking about, see what we have to listen to, and we'll talk then. See you then. Thanks.